If you've never heard about Snowbreak, this is a sandbox, third-person shooter gacha game that was the first of its kind in the gacha space. Many players were excited for the release of the game because of its innovative aspect. In this video, we're going to discuss the reasons why an innovative gacha game like Snowbreak failed, and why there are almost no more content creators covering this game. With that, let's get straight into the video. Number 1. It doesn't feel polished. At the very start of the game, I started to feel like the movements of the characters didn't feel smooth or polished, but it wasn't enough reason for me to stop playing the game, so I continued playing the game. But when the story started, that's where everything felt weird. I mean, just look at the text when you're in the story mode. It doesn't feel smooth. This is bad because this is where you're looking at most of the time. The animation and the designs are good, but the text feels unpolished. And that gets me to my second point, which is that the story is bad. Apart from the story text looking rough, which is generally bearable for some, the storytelling also has its problems. I mean, they're just throwing out random jargon from the game, like they just randomly throw out the word Davos in my face, like they expect me to understand that word without explanation. Because of that, the whole sentence doesn't make sense anymore, leading to a broken story immersion. It's like they put zero effort into the story. Now, I understand why they put this 4x mode and skip button on the story because they know that's not their strong suit, even though their game is like 50% the story if you don't skip it. Some of the cutscenes are decent, but they're not up to par with our current gacha games. I personally think that the gameplay of this game is better than Nikki, but Nikki's strong suit is their story. And I think that the ass and boob juggling in Nikki is their way to hook you into the game. And once you experience the story, you'll feel a much deeper connection with the characters than when you first saw their boobs. Basically, they're more than a boob for you now. They're a friend. But in Snowbreak, I generally just skip the story of Snowbreak because it's not even worth your time to learn about it. Talking about the strong suit of the game, Snowbreak didn't play on theirs. What I mean is the gameplay is very fun, but once you reach the end game, your daily grind would only take you 30 minutes before you log off and f*** off. It's frustrating when you've wailed for all the characters and skins in the game, and you only have 30 minutes to play those every day. Like, who's going to invest in a game like that? Like I said, the gameplay is fun, and it's relatively new from a gacha game standpoint, even for modern standards. And I personally really like the concept of this game, because before being a gacha game casual, I was first a sweaty FPS player. Because of this, the mix of both games that I love really piqued my interest at the time. What I think is the biggest contributor to why a huge amount of players quit the game was because at the launch of the game, most players were not able to run the game. And the players who were able to run it experienced glitches and bugs, and with enough time, this could lead them to leave. They tried to salvage Snowbreak by incorporating dating in the game, which I think is a good way to pull in a type of gacha gamer. Not me, but somebody. But I'm not gonna lie, this is by far one of the best dormitory-type gachas that I've seen in all of the gacha games that I've played. I mean, just look at this clip. I'm starting to think that maybe they should just focus more on these types of content. Maybe their next gacha game should become a dating sim. I think that they'd have more success in that aspect, just like Love in Deep Space. I don't know why that game is successful, probably because I'm a man, but still, I don't understand why it's topping the Sensor Tower revenue charts. Like, is it like a stripper club gacha game where players would throw money on the characters' faces, and whoever paid the most would have a date with the character? I don't know, and I don't want to know. Going back to the topic, I think that making a Love in Deep Space themed game could give them more success, so if you're the owner of Snowbreak, maybe it's time for you to play some Love in Deep Space and see what the hype is all about. Though I still hope that they try to develop another gacha game shooter, which seems close to impossible at this point. Because of what happened to Snowbreak, even doing all of that, they still weren't able to get back on their feet. Since I've mentioned the sim dating part of Snowbreak, let's talk about the character designs. The character designs in this game are well made, perfect for a gooner gacha game. The skin designers of the game really know what their target audience is, which this alone could have given this game a huge revenue. But why is it not in the top 60 of any gacha game? Believe it or not, at launch they were extremely generous with the pulls. What they don't understand is they need to find the balance when giving free pulls to their player base. They need to understand that gacha game players are generally just gambling addicts. And how would you feel about the gambler's high if everyone in their mother's house is getting every character that is released in the game? You would feel less unique. Ultimately, the company behind the game called Amazing Season Games is new to the gacha space, and I hope that they'll continue on making gacha games until they make that Genshin Impact kind of a hit for us to play. Then we'll end up shitting on it after 2 years, just like the former. I'm hoping for the success of this company because they're the first company who showed me the possibility of Call of Duty anime-themed. Kidding aside, I do think that this game had potential, but trying to revive and resuscitate this at this point is already too late. Now that we understand why the game Snowbreak failed, why are the content creators leaving? At first, you would think that it's because the game is already failing, so obviously they would leave. This is correct, but I think that it's more than that. So for content creators to completely desert the game, it must have been a pretty unbearable experience. First impressions are very important for a gacha game. While most can tolerate some bugs on the launch, if it continues to happen, eventually everyone will be fed up and leave the game, which is what I think happened to our content creators. Another reason is because Honkai Star Rail, a very popular gacha game from Hoyoverse, was still relatively new in the market at that time. So having that buggy launch made it all the easier for the players to quit the game since most hadn't experienced Star Rail fully at that time. Since I've seen that there are still frequent updates on the gacha game, I do think that even though they're not in the top 60 on Sensor Tower, they're still making enough money to support their company in the background. Keep in mind that not being in the top 60 of Sensor Tower doesn't mean that they're not a successful game. This is still a gacha game, and we all know how much money a single person would spend just to make their waifus strong. I think that the buggy launch cannot be avoided. It should be expected for new gacha releases, but if they had polished the game even more, maybe more players would have been more willing to stay. But these are all just hypothetical situations. It could have had the same effect even if they've done all of that, but at least they tried their best to make it look good and not look like a cash cow of a gacha game. I do hope that they're already on the way to making a new gacha game that would surprise us. What about you? Why do you think Snowbreak failed? And why do you think there are no more content creators willing to cover the game? I don't really think that Snowbreak is a bad game because there is certainly a market for this type of gacha game. I just think that they're focusing too much right now on dating sim rather than the main concept of the game, which is the shooting part. I already yapped so much that I think the AI is getting angry at me, so I'll end it here.